challenge.
So today is day 3, so let's get going, see what questions we've got and how we can work through them.
Okay, so here are the questions for today. There are 10 again, same as there has been for the past 2 days. Pause the screen, have a go at them, and once you've solved them, press play and we'll go through the answers together. Okay, time to go through the answers then. So for the first one, we have to find 15% of 1,400. So what I would do for this is I would partition out my percentage and I would find 10% and 5% and then add them together. So to find 10% of 1,400, we simply just have to divide 1,400 by 10, which would give me the answer 140. Then, to find 5%, I would half 140, because 5% is half of 10%. That would give me 70. And then I would add the two numbers together, which would give me 210. Okay, for the next one, 645 divided by 43. I would first of all write out my multiples of 43. Now we don't expect you to know your 43 times tables off the top of your head, so what you can literally do is just add 43 on every single time. I usually recommend to my class to write out the first 5 multiples because you can always go back and add more later on if you find that you need them. So then I would use the original method to figure out 645 divided by 43, as you can see on my left. And then on my right, I've had to do a simple subtraction just to find out what I had remaining to carry over into my next place value. So the answer for that one is 15. Okay, moving on to the next one is a fractions question. So we've got 1/2 add 2/7. Now the only difficult thing with that one is that my denominators are not the same. I have a 2 and a 7. Now I know I can't turn my 2 into a 7 because 2 is an even number. There's nothing I could multiply it by to get to 7. So what I can do to give myself a common denominator is actually multiply the two denominators together. So 2 and 7 would give you 14. So then I have written 14 at the side as my new denominator, and then I go back to the original fractions to find out what I need to do. So for 1/2, I multiplied the 2 by 7 to get to 14, so I then must multiply my numerator by 7, which would give me 7/14. On the next fraction, where I've got 2/7, I have to multiply 7 by 2 to get to 14, so that means I must multiply my numerator together by 2, which is always a 2, and then I have 4/14, and then I add the 2 together, which would give me 11/14. Moving on to the next one. This one is a nice and easy one. You've got 1 3/4 add 1/4. Well, if I ignore the 1/2 to start off with, I know that 3/4 and 1/4 added together will give me 1/2, or 4/4, 4/4. And I have 1/2 already there, so added together that gives me 2 whole ones. Now the next one, the only real difficulty with this is that when you are subtracting decimals, it's place value. So making sure that your 4 is underneath your 8 because they are both the units. After that, you can have your decimals and your remaining numbers. I would put my decimal and my remaining zeros in my top number 2 just to make my place value make much more sense. Okay, moving on to the next one, I've got 5.7 multiplied by 40. So for this one, I would actually just multiply 5.7 by 4. As you can see, I've done down below, using the same method as before, just remembering to put my decimal point in. And then I would multiply my answer by 10, because my original question was multiplied by 40. Question then, so it is another percentage question. It's 99% of 300. Now, for this one, I would find 1% and subtract it from 100% rather than doing anything else, which is much more long-winded. So I found 1% of 300, which is 3. I did this by dividing it by 100. And I then know that 100% of my number is 300, so I've done 300 subtract 3, which has given me 297. Okay, moving on to the next question. We've got 1/4 divided by 2. So if you've got a fraction divided by a whole number, I would first of all turn that whole number into a fraction. So that would be 2/1 because we have got 2 whole lots of 1 to give me 2 whole numbers. Then I would use the KFC method, keep, flip, change. So keep the first fraction the same, 1/4, then flip the operation symbol to a multiplication, And last but not least, change my last fraction to 1/2 and then multiply the top two numbers together. So 1 multiplied by 1 is 1 and 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, giving me the fraction 1/8. Okay, moving on to question 9, we've got 8 squared minus 16 divided by 8. So 8 squared is 64 because that's 8 times 8, not 8 times 2. So 8 eighths are 64. I would then do 64 subtract 16, which gives me the answer of 48. And I would then do 48 divided by 8. Well, straight away I know that's going to be 6 because I can tell that by using my 8 times tables. And last but not least, a final percentage question, 27% of 840. So what I did is I separated this out again into 10% and 1%. So 10% of my number is 84, 1% of my number is 8.4. Once I know this, I would multiply 84 by 2 because I want to find 20%. And I would then multiply 1% by 7 because I want to find 7%. And then add the two answers together, which would give me the answer of 234.8. My brain's not working. So that's it for today, guys. Well done. Thank you for coming back and checking this channel. You're doing a great job, everybody, and I will see you later.